Chapter 3. We have related how the handsome Monkey King returned home in glory, bringing a large sword he had captured when he killed the Demon King of Confusion. From then on, they practiced the military arts every day. He asked the little monkeys to cut down bamboo to make spears, carve swords out of wood, and to learn to use banners and whistles. They learned to advance and retreat and build a camp with a stockade round it. They spent a lot of time playing at this. Once, Sun Wukong was sitting in his seat of meditation when he wondered, what would happen to us if our games were taken for the real thing? What if it alarmed some human monarch or gave offense to some king of bird or beast? They might say that we are having military training for a rebellion and attack us with their armies. You would be no match for them with your bamboo spears and wooden swords. We must have really sharp swords and halberds. What are we to do about it? When the monkeys heard all of this, they said with alarm, Your Majesty has great foresight, but there's nowhere we can get them. When it was the turn of 4 older monkeys to speak, 2 bare-bottom apes and 2 gibbons, they came forward and said, Your Majesty, if you want sharp weapons, they can be very easily obtained. How could it be easy? Asked Sun Wukong. To the east of our mountain, they replied, there is a lake some 70 miles wide that is the boundary of the country of Aolai. The country has a princely capital, and huge numbers of soldiers and civilians live in the city. It must have workshops for gold, silver, bronze, and iron. If you went there, Your Majesty, you could buy arms or get them made. Then you could train us to use them in the defense of our mountain. This would give us long-term security. Sun Wukong was delighted with the suggestion. Wait here while I go there, he said. Splendid Monkey King. He leapt onto a somersault cloud, crossed the 70 miles of lake, and he saw that on the other side there was indeed a city wall, a moat, streets, markets, 10,000 houses, 1,000 gates, and people coming and going in the sunlight. There must be ready-made weapons here, Sun Wukong thought, and getting a few by magic would be much better than buying them. So he made a magic with his fist and said the words of the spell, sucked in some air from the southeast, and blew it out hard again. It turned into a terrifying gale carrying sand and stones with it. Where the thunderclouds rise, the elements are in chaos. Black fog thick with dust cloak the earth in darkness. Boiling rivers and seas terrify the crabs and fish. As trees are snapped off in the mountain forests, tigers and wolves flee. No business is done in any branch of commerce, and no one is working at any kind of trade. In the palace, the king has gone to his inner quarters, and the officials in front of the steps have returned to their offices. The throne of princes are all blown over. Towers of 5 phoenixes are shaken to their foundation. Where the storm blew, the prince of Aolai fled in terror, and gates and doors were shut in the streets and markets. Nobody dared to move outside. Sun Wukong landed his cloud and rushed straight through the gates of the palace to the arsenal and the military stores, opened the doors, and saw countless weapons. Swords, pikes, sabers, halberds, battle axes, bills, scimitars, maces, tridents, clubs, bows, crossbows, forks, and spears were all there. At the sight of them he said happily, How many of these could I carry by myself? I'd better use the magic for dividing up my body. Splendid Monkey King. He plucked a hair from his body, chewed it up, spat it out, and made the magic with his fist, said the words of the spell, and shouted, Change! It turned into hundreds and thousands of little monkeys who rushed wildly about grabbing weapons. The strong ones took 6 or 7 each, and the weaker ones 2 or 3, and between them they removed the lot. He climbed back up on the clouds, called up a gale by magic, and took all the little monkeys home with him. The monkeys, big and small, of the mountain of flowers and fruit, were playing outside the gates of the cave when they heard the wind. At the sight of countless monkey spirits flying through the air, they fled and hid. A moment later, the handsome Monkey King landed his cloud, put away his mist, shook himself, replaced his hair, and threw all the weapons into a pile beside the mountain. Children, he shouted, come and get your weapons. When the monkey masses looked, they saw Sun Wukong standing by himself on some level ground, and they all rushed over to him to kowtow and ask what had happened. Sun Wukong told them the story of how he had raised the gale and taken the weapons. After all the monkeys had thanked him, they snatched sabers, grabbed swords, seized battle axes, fought for pikes, drew bows, stretched crossbows, shouted, yelled, and so amused themselves for the rest of the day. The next day they paraded as usual. Sun Wukong assembled all the monkey host, and they numbered over 47,000. This had alarmed all the strange beasts of the mountain. Wolves, monsters, tigers, leopards, deer, muntjacs, river deer, foxes, wildcats, badgers, raccoons, lions, elephants, horses, orangutans, bears, stags, wild boar, mountain cattle, rhinoceroses, little dogs, huge dogs. The kings of various kinds of monsters, 72 in all, came to pay homage to the Monkey King. They offered tribute every year and attended court in each of the 4 seasons. They also took part in drill and paid their seasonal grain levies. Everything was so orderly that the mountain of flowers and fruit was as secure as an iron bucket or a wall of bronze. The kings of the monsters sent gongs, drums, colored flags, helmets, and armor in great abundance, and every day there were military exercises. One day, amid all this success, the handsome Monkey King suddenly said to the other monkeys, "You are now expert in the bow and crossbow, and highly skilled in other weapons, but this sword of mine is too clumsy for my liking. What shall I do about it?" The 4 veteran monkeys came forward and submitted a suggestion. "Your Majesty is an immortal, so mortal weapons are not good enough for you. We wonder if your Majesty is able to travel underwater." "Since hearing the way," Sun Wukong replied, "I have mastered the 72 earthly transformations. My somersault cloud has outstanding magical powers. I know how to conceal myself and vanish. I can make my spells and end them. I can reach the sky and find my way into the earth. I can travel under the sun or moon without leaving a shadow, or go through metal or stone freely. I can't be drowned by water or burned by fire. There's nowhere I cannot go. If your Majesty has these magical powers, the stream under our iron bridge leads to the Dragon Palace of the Eastern Sea. If you are willing to go down there, go and find the Dragon King and ask him for whatever weapon it is you want. Wouldn't that suit you?" "Wait till I get back," was Sun Wukong's delighted reply. "Splendid Monkey King." He leapt to the end of the bridge and made a spell with his fist to ward off the water. He dived into the waves and split the waters to make way for himself till he reached the bed of the Eastern Sea. On his journey, he saw a Yaksha demon who was patrolling the sea. The Yaksha barred his way and said, "What sage or divinity are you pushing the waters aside like that? Please tell me so that I can make a report and have you properly received." "I am the heaven-born sage, Sun Wukong, from the mountain of flowers and fruit, and your old Dragon King's close neighbor. How is it that you don't know me?" When the Yaksha heard this, he hurried back to the Crystal Palace and reported, "Your Majesty, Sun Wukong, the heaven-born sage from the mountain of flowers and fruit, who says he is your neighbor, is coming to your palace." Ao Guang, the old Dragon King of the Eastern Sea, leapt to his feet and went out to meet Sun Wukong with his dragon sons and grandsons, his prawn soldiers, and his crab generals. "Come in, exalted immortal," he said, taking Sun Wukong into the palace, where they introduced themselves, seated him in a place of honor, and offered him tea. Then the Dragon King asked him, "Exalted immortal, when did you find the way, and what magic arts did you acquire?" "After my birth," said Sun Wukong, "I renounced the world and cultivated my conduct, and thus obtained an immortal and indestructible body. Recently, I have trained my sons and grandsons to guard our cave, but unfortunately, I have not yet found myself a weapon. I have long heard that my illustrious neighbor enjoys the delights of a jade palace with gate, towers of cowrie, and I'm sure that you must have some magic weapons to spare, so I have come especially to beg one of you." Not wishing to refuse this request, the Dragon King sent Commander Perch to fetch a large sword and offer it to Sun Wukong. "I don't know how to use a sword," said Sun Wukong, "so could I ask you to give me something else?" The old Dragon King then sent Colonel Mackerel and Guard Commander Eel to fetch a 9-pronged spear. Sun Wukong leapt down from his seat took it, tried it out, then flung it down, saying, "It's too light, far too light, and it doesn't suit me. I beg you to give me another." The Dragon King smiled as he said, "Exalted Immortal, don't you see that this weighs 3,600 pounds? It doesn't suit me. It doesn't suit me at all," protested Sun Wukong. The Dragon King, feeling frightened now, ordered Provincial Commander Bream and Garrison Commander Carp to bring out a patterned heavenly halberd for warding off spells that weighed 7,200 pounds. As soon as he saw it, Sun Wukong bounded forward to take it. He tried a few postures and thrusts with it, and then stuck it in the ground between them. Still too light, far too light. The Dragon King, now really terrified, said, "Exalted Immortal, that halberd is the heaviest weapon in my palace." "As the old saying goes," said Sun Wukong with a grin, "never think the Dragon King has no treasures. Have another look, and if you find anything satisfying, I'll give you a good price for it." "I really have nothing else," the Dragon King replied. As he was speaking, his dragon wife and dragon daughters came in from the back of the palace and said, "Your Majesty, by the look of him, this sage must be really somebody. The piece of miraculous iron that anchors the Milky Way in place has been shining with a lovely rosy glow for the last few days and creating a most auspicious atmosphere. Perhaps it has started to shine to greet this sage. That piece of miraculous iron is one of the nails that Yu the Great used to fix the depths of rivers and seas when he brought the waters under control," said the Dragon King. "What use could it be?" "Never mind whether it's useful or not," his wife replied. "Just give it to him and let him do with it as he pleases. At least you'll get him out of the palace." The Dragon King did as she suggested and described the piece of iron to Sun Wukong, who said, "Bring it out and let me see." "It can't be moved. You'll have to go and look at it yourself, Exalted Immortal." "Where is it? Take me there," said Sun Wukong. The Dragon King took him into the middle of the sea treasury, where all of a sudden they could see 10,000 rays of golden light. Pointing at it, the Dragon King said, "That's it, where all the light is coming from." Sun Wukong hitched up his clothes and went to give it a feel. He found that it was an iron pillar about as thick as a measure for a peck of grain and some 20 feet long. Seizing it with both hands, he said, "It's too thick and too long. If it were a bit shorter and thinner, it would do." As soon as these words were out of his mouth, this precious piece of iron became several feet shorter and a few inches thinner. Sun Wukong tossed it in his hands, remarking that it would be even better if it were thinner still. The precious iron therefore became even thinner. Sun Wukong was taking it out of the sea treasury to have a look at it when he saw that it had 2 gold bands around it, while the middle part was made of black iron. There was a line of inlaid writing near the bands which said that it was the "As You Will" gold-banded cudgel, weight 13,500 pounds. Sun Wukong was delighted, though he did not show it. "I think that this little darling will do whatever I want." As he walked along, he weighed it in his hand and said reflectively, "If it were even smaller still, it would be perfect." By the time he had taken it outside, it was 20 feet long and as thick as a rice bowl. Watch him as he uses his magical powers to try a few routines with it, whirling all around the Crystal Palace. The old Dragon King was trembling with fright, and the little dragons were scared out of their wits. Terrapins, freshwater turtles, seawater turtles, and alligators drew in their heads, while fish, shrimp, lobsters, and giant turtles hid their faces. Holding his treasure in his hands, Sun Wukong sat down in the main hall of the Palace of Crystal and said with a smile to the Dragon King, "Many thanks, worthy neighbor, for your great generosity." The old Dragon King humbly acknowledged his thanks, and Sun Wukong went on, "This piece of iron will be very useful, but there is one more thing I want to ask." "What might that be, Exalted Immortal?" asked the Dragon King. "If I hadn't got this cudgel, that would be the end of the matter, but as I have got it, the problem is that I don't have the clothes to go with it. What are we to do about it? If you have any armor here, I'd be most obliged if you gave me a suit." The Dragon King said he had not any. "A guest should not have to trouble 2 hosts," said Sun Wukong. "I won't leave without one." "Try some other sea, Exalted Immortal. You may find one there." "It's better to stay in one house than visit 3. I beg and implore you to give me a suit." I really don't have one, replied the Dragon King. If I had, I would present it to you. If you really haven't, then I'll try this cudgel out on you. Don't hit me, exalted immortal, don't hit me, pleaded the Dragon King in terror. Let me see whether my brothers have one they would give you. Where do your brothers live? They are Aquin, the Dragon King of the Southern Sea, El Shun, the Dragon King of the Northern Sea, and El Run, the Dragon King of the Southern Sea. I'm damned if I'm going there, as the saying goes. 2 in the pocket is better than 3 owing, so be a good chap and give me one. There's no need for you to go, lofty immortal, the Dragon King replied. I have an iron drum and a bronze bell. In an emergency, we strike them to bring my brothers here in an instant. In that case, said Sun Wukong, hurry up and sound them. And indeed, an alligator general struck the bell while a terrapin marshal beat the drum. The sound of the bell and the drum startled the other 3 Dragon Kings who had arrived and were waiting together outside within the instant. One of them, Alcuin, said, Elder brother, what's up? Why the drum and bell? It hurts me to tell you, brother, the old Dragon King replied. There's this so-called heaven-born sage from the mountain of flowers and fruit who came here this morning saying that I was his neighbor, then demanded a weapon. I offered him a steel-pronged spear that he said was too small, and a patterned halberd that he said was too light. Then he picked up the miraculous iron that fastens the Milky Way and tried a few movements with it. Now he's sitting in the palace and demanding a suit of armor, but we haven't got one. That's why I used the bell and drum to call you here. You 3 must have some armor. Please give him a suit, and then we can get rid of him. When Alcuin heard this, he said in fury, To arms, brothers, arrest the criminal. No, it's out of the question, said the old Dragon King. If that iron cudgel of his gets you, you're done for it. If it hits you, you die. If it comes close, your skin is broken, and if it so much as brushes against you, your sinews are smashed. I'll Run, the Dragon King of the Western Sea, said, Second brother, you must not attack him. Instead, we should put a suit of armor together for him, then send him away. We can send a memorial about it to heaven, then heaven, of course, will punish him. You're right, said Al Shun, the Dragon King of the Northern Sea. I have a pair of lotus root cloud-walking shoes. I've brought a suit of golden chain mail, said Al Run, the Dragon King of the Western Sea. And I have a phoenix-winged purple-gold helmet, added Alcuin, the Dragon King of the Southern Sea. The old Dragon King was very pleased, and he brought them into the palace to meet Sun Wukong and present the equipment to him. Sun Wukong put on the golden helmet and the armor and the cloud-walking shoes, then charged out, waving his cudgel and saying to the dragons, My apologies for disturbing you. The 4 Dragon Kings were most indignant, but we will not go into their discussions on the protests they sent to heaven. Watch the Monkey King as he parts the waters and goes straight back to the Iron Bridge, where the 4 senior apes can be seen waiting for him at the head of the monkey host. Sun Wukong suddenly leapt out of the waves without a drop of water on him and gleaming with gold. As he came across the bridge, the monkeys were so astonished that they fell to their knees and said, How splendid you look, your majesty, how splendid. Sun Wukong, his face lit up with youthful vigor, climbed up to his throne, thrust his cudgel into the ground in their midst. The foolish monkeys all tried to grab this treasure, but it was as futile as a dragonfly trying to shake an iron tree. They were unable to move it in the slightest. Biting their fingers and sticking out their tongues, they said, Grandpa, it's so heavy. How can you possibly lift it? Sun Wukong went over and laughed as he said to them, Everything has its rightful owner. This little treasure has been lying in the sea treasury for goodness knows how many thousands of years, but it just happened to start shining this year. The Dragon King thought it was just a piece of ordinary iron and said it was the miraculous treasure that holds the bed of the Milky Way in place. None of his men could move it, so he had asked me to go and fetch it myself. It was more than 20 feet long then, and as thick as a peck measure. When I picked it up, I felt that it was too big, and it shrank till it was several times as small. I told it to get even smaller, and it did that too. Then I told it to get smaller still, and it got many times smaller again. I hurried out into the light of day to look at it, and I saw that there was an inscription on it that read, As you will, gold-banded cudgel, weight 13,500 pounds. Stand aside, and I'll make it change again. Holding his treasure in his hand, he said, "Shrink, shrink, shrink," and it became as small as an embroidery needle, tiny enough to be hidden in his ear. "Your Majesty," the monkeys cried in astonishment, "bring it out and play with it again." So the Monkey King brought it out of his ear again, laid it on the palm of his hand, and said, "Grow, grow, grow." It became as thick as a peck again and 20 feet long. Now that he was really enjoying himself, he bounded over the bridge and went out of the cave. Clasping his treasure, he used some of his heaven and earth magic, bowed and shouted, "Grow." He became 100,000 feet tall, his head as big as a mountain, his waist was like a range of hills, his eyes flashed like lightning, his mouth seemed to be a bowl of blood, and his teeth were as swords and halberds. The cudgel in his hands reached up to the 33rd heaven and down to the 18th hell. The tigers, leopards, and wolves, the beasts of the mountains, and 72 monster kings all kowtowed and bowed in terror, trembling so much that they went out of their minds. A moment later he reverted to his proper size, turned his treasure into an embroidery needle, hid it behind his ear, and went back to the cave. The panic-stricken kings of the monsters all came to offer their congratulations. There was a great display of banners and drums, and the air resounded to the sound of gongs and bells. Rare delicacies were set out in great quantities, cups brimmed with coconut toddy and the wine of the grape, and the Monkey King feasted and drank with his people for a long time. Then training went on as before. The Monkey King named the 4 senior apes as his 4 stalwart generals. He named the 2 bare-bottomed apes Marshal Ma and Marshal Lu, and called the 2 gibbons General Ming and General Ba. He entrusted the stockade, questions of discipline, and rewards to these 4. Thus, free from cares, he mounted the clouds and rode the mists, wandering around the 4 seas and enjoying the 1,000 mountains. He practiced his martial arts, visited many a hero, used his magical powers, and made a wide and distinguished circle of friends. He met with 6 sworn brothers of his, the Bull Demon King, the Salamander Demon King, the Rock Demon King, the Camel King, the Macaque King, and the Lion King. With him included, they made 7. For days on end they talked about politics and war, passed around the goblet, strummed, sang, piped, danced, went off on days out together, and enjoyed themselves in every possible way. A journey of thousands of miles seemed to them to be no more than a walk in the courtyard. It could be said that they traveled 1,000 miles in the time it takes to nod one's head, and covered 300 with a twist of the waist. One day he instructed his 4 stalwart generals to arrange a feast for the 6 other kings. Oxes and horses were slaughtered, sacrifices were made to heaven and earth, and the assembled monsters danced, sang, and drank themselves blotto. When he had seen the 6 kings out, and tipped his senior and junior officials, son Wukong lay himself down under the shade of the pines beside the bridge, and was asleep in an instant. The 4 stalwart generals made the others stand round and guard him, and they all kept their voices down. In his sleep, the handsome Monkey King saw 2 men approach him with a piece of paper in their hands, on which was written, "Son Wukong." Without allowing any explanations, they tied up his soul and dragged it staggering along until they reached a city wall. The Monkey King, who was gradually recovering from his drunken stupor, looked up and saw an iron plate on the wall, on which was inscribed, "World of Darkness," in large letters. In a flash of realization, he said, "The world of darkness is where King Yama lives. Why have I come here?" "Your life in the world above is due to end now," his escort said, "and we were ordered to fetch you." To this the Monkey King replied, "I have gone beyond the 3 worlds, and I am no longer subject to the 5 elements. I don't come under King Yama's jurisdiction. How dare you grab me, you idiots?" But the fetchers of the dead just went on tugging at him, determined to drag him inside. The Monkey King lost his temper, pulled his treasure out of his ear, and gave it a shake. It became as thick as a rice bowl. It only took a slight movement of his arm to smash the 2 fetchers of the dead to pulp. He untied his bonds, loosed his hands, and charged into the city whirling his cudgel. so terrifying the ox-headed and horse-faced devils that they fled in all directions for cover. All the devil soldiers rushed to the Senlu Palace and reported, "Your Majesty, disaster, disaster. A hairy-faced thunder god is attacking us out there." Stricken by panic, the 10 kings who sat in the 10 palaces, judging the criminal cases of the dead, hurriedly straightened their clothing and went out to look. When they saw his ferocious expression, they lined up in order and shouted at the tops of their voices, "Please tell us your name, exalted immortal." "If you don't know who I am," replied the Monkey King, "why did you send men to bring me here? We wouldn't dare do such a thing. The messengers must have made a mistake. I am Sun Wukong, the heaven-born sage of the water-curtain cave on the mountain of flowers and fruit. What are your posts?" "We are the 10 kings. Tell me your names at once if you don't want a bashing." To this the 10 kings replied, "We are the king of Qinggong, the king of Chujiang, King Songdi, King Wugan, King Yama, King Impartial, and the king of Mount Tai, the metropolitan king, the king of Baicheng, and the king of the ever-turning wheel." To this Sun Wukong replied, "You are all kings and have hysteric understanding, so why don't you know any better? I, Sun Wukong, have cultivated the way of immortality and will live as long as heaven. I've soared beyond the 3 worlds and leapt outside the 5 elements, so why did you send your men to get me?" "Please don't be angry, lofty immortal," the king said. "Many people in the world share the same name, so perhaps the fetchers of the dead went to the wrong place." "Nonsense, nonsense. As the saying goes, the magistrate may be wrong and the sergeant may be wrong, but the man who comes to get you is never wrong. Go and get the register of life and death for me to see." The 10 kings invited him to come into the palace and look through it. Sun Wukong went into the Senlu Palace with his club in his hand and sat down in the middle of the hall facing south. The 10 kings then ordered the presiding judge to fetch the register, and the judge hastened to his office and brought out 5 or 6 documents and 10 registers. He looked through them all one by one, but could not find Sun Wukong's name in the sections devoted to hairless creatures, hairy creatures, feathered creatures, insects, or scaly creatures. Then he looked through the monkey section. Now, although monkeys look like men, they are not entered under the humans. Although they were like the hairless creatures, they do not live within their boundaries. Although they were like running animals, they were not under the jurisdiction of the unicorn. And although they were like birds, they were not ruled by the phoenix. There was another register, and Sun Wukong looked through this one himself. Under soul number 1350 was the name of Sun Wukong, the heaven-born stone monkey, who was destined to live to the age of 342 and die a good death. "I won't write down any number of years," said Sun Wukong. "I'll just erase my name and be done with it. Bring me a brush." Judge hastily handed him a brush and thick blank ink. Sun Wukong took the register, crossed out all the names in the monkey section, and threw it on the floor with the words, "The account's closed. That's the end of it. We won't come under your control any longer." Then he cudgeled his way out of the world of darkness. The 10 kings dared not go near him, and they all went to the Azure Cloud Palace to bow homage to Bodhivista Kisiti Garba and discuss the report they would send up to heaven, but we'll not go into this. After charging out through the city wall, the Monkey King tripped over a clump of grass, tried to regain his balance, and woke up with a start. It had all been a dream. As he stretched himself, he heard his 4 stalwart generals and the other monkeys saying, "Your Majesty, time to wake up. You drank too much and slept all night." "Never mind about my sleeping. I dreamt that 2 men came for me. They dragged me to the city wall of the world of darkness, where I came round. I showed them my magic powers and went yelling all the way to the Senlu Palace, where I had an argument with those 10 kings and looked through the register of life and death of us. Whenever there was a mention of your names in the register, I crossed them out. We won't come under the jurisdiction of those idiots any more." All the monkeys kowtowed to him in gratitude. The reason why, from that time on, so many mountain monkeys have never grown old is that their names are not in the books of the officials of the underworld. When the handsome Monkey King had finished telling his story, the 4 stalwart generals informed the other monster kings, who all came to offer their felicitations. A few days later, his 6 sworn brothers also came to congratulate him, and all were delighted to hear how he had struck the names off the books. We will not describe the daily feast that followed. Instead, we will describe how one day the supreme heavenly sage, the greatly compassionate Jade Emperor of the azure vault of heaven, was sitting on his throne in the hall of miraculous mist in the golden-gated cloud palace, surrounded by his immortal civil and military officials at morning court. When the immortal Qi Hongzhi reported, "Your Majesty, Al Gang, the Dragon King of the Eastern Sea, has presented a memorial outside the Hall of Universal Brightness and is awaiting a summons from your Imperial Majesty." The Jade Emperor ordered that he be called in, and the Dragon King came into the Hall of Miraculous Mist. When he had done obeisance, an immortal page came from the side to take his memorial. The Jade Emperor read through it. It ran, "Your subject Al Gang, the humble dragon of the Eastern Sea of the Eastern Continent of superior body in the nether watery regions, reports to the Jade Emperor of the Azure Vault of Heaven. Recently, one Wukong, an immortal fiend born on the mountain of flowers and fruit, now living in the water-curtained cave, bullied this humble dragon and occupied my watery house by force. He demanded a weapon by displaying magical prowess. He insisted on having armor by showing off his evil powers. He terrified the watery tribe and made the tortoise and alligators flee in terror. The dragon of the southern sea trembled, the dragon of the western sea was made miserable, and the dragon of the northern sea had to hang his head and come in submission, and I, your subject Al Gang, humbled myself before him. We had to present him with a miraculous iron cudgel, a golden phoenix winged helmet, a suit of chainmail, and a pair of cloud-walking shoes, and we escorted him out politely. He continued to show off his martial arts and magic powers, and all he had to say for himself was, 'My apologies for disturbing you.' There is truly no match for him, and he is uncontrollable. Your subject now presents this memorial, and respectfully awaits your sage decision. I humbly beg that heavenly soldiers be sent to arrest this evil demon, so that the sea and mountains may be at peace, and the ocean may enjoy tranquility." When the Jade Emperor had read through this, he ordered, "Let the dragon god return to the sea. We shall send generals down to arrest the demon." The old Dragon King bowed till his head touched the floor and took his leave. Then the venerable immortal Gi, a heavenly teacher, reported, "Your Majesty, the King of Guigang, one of the ministers of the underworld, has come with a memorial from the Bodha Vista Kistagarba." A jade girl messenger took the memorial, which the Jade Emperor read through. It ran, "The regions of darkness are the negative part of earth. Heaven contains gods, while the earth has devils. Positive and negative are in a constant cycle. Birds or beasts are born and die. Male and female alternate. Life is created, and change takes place. Male and female are conceived and born. This is the order of nature, and it cannot be changed. Now, the evil spirit, the heaven-born monkey of the water-curtained cave on the mountain of flowers and fruit, is presently giving full rein to his wicked nature, committing murders, and refusing to submit to discipline. He killed the devil messengers of the ninth hell with his magic, and he terrified the 10 benevolent kings of the underworld with his power. He made an uproar in the Senlu Palace and crossed some names out by force. He has made the race of monkeys completely uncontrollable and given eternal life to the macaques. He has annulled the law of transmigration and brought them beyond birth and death. I, impoverished monk that I am, importune the might of heaven by presenting this memorial. I prostrate myself to beg that heavenly soldiers be dispatched to subdue this fiend, bring the positive and negative back into order, and give lasting security to the underworld." When the Jade Emperor had read through this, he ordered, "Let the Lord of Darkness return to the underworld. We shall send generals to arrest the demon." The King of Guigang then bowed till his head touched the floor and took his leave. His Celestial Majesty then asked all his civil and military officials, "When was this monkey demon born? What is his origin that he should have such powers?" Before he had finished speaking, 1,000-mile Eye and wind accompanying ear came forward from the ranks of officials and said, This demon monkey is the stone monkey who was born of heaven 300 years ago. At the time, nobody paid any attention to him, and we do not know where he refined himself and became an immortal in recent years, so that he has been able to make the tigers and dragons submit to him and to strike his name off of the register of the dead. Which divine general shall be sent down to capture him? Asked the Jade Emperor. And before he had finished speaking, the great white planet stepped forward, bowed down, and submitted. All beings in the upper worlds that have 9 apertures can become immortals. This monkey has a body that was created by heaven and earth and conceived by the sun and moon. His head touches the sky, and his feet stand on the earth. He drinks the dew and eats the mist. How does he differ from humans if he has succeeded in cultivating the way of immortality and can subdue dragons and tigers? I beg your majesty to remember your life-giving mercy and hand down a sage edict of amnesty and enlightenment, summoning him to this upper world and inscribing his name on the list of office holders, thus keeping him here under control. If he obeys your majesty's heavenly commands, he can later be promoted, and if he disobeys, he can be arrested. This will both avoid military operations and be a way of winning over an immortal. The Jade Emperor, delighted with the suggestion, ordered that it should be put into effect. He told the Wengu Star officer to compose the edict and commanded the Great White Planet to persuade the monkey to accept the amnesty. The Great White Planet left heaven by the southern gate and brought his propitious cloud down by the water curtain cave, where he said to the little monkeys, I'm an envoy from heaven, and I'm carrying a divine edict inviting your great king to the upper world. Go and tell him at once. The little monkeys outside conveyed the message by relays into the depths of the cave. Your Majesty, there's an old man outside carrying a document on his back. He says he's an envoy from heaven with an invitation for you. The handsome Monkey King was delighted. He said, I've been thinking of going up to heaven to have a look around for the past couple of days, and now a heavenly envoy has come to invite me. Ask him in at once, he shouted, hastily straightening his clothes and going out to meet the envoy. The planet came straight in, stood facing the south, and said, I'm the Great White Planet of the West, and I have come down to Earth with an edict of amnesty and enlistment from the Jade Emperor to invite you to heaven to be given office as an immortal. I'm very grateful to you, venerable planet, for condescending to come here, replied Sun Wukong with a smile. Then he told his subject to prepare a feast to entertain the visitor. I'm afraid I can't delay, replied the planet, as I am carrying a divine edict, so may I ask your majesty to come back with me now? We can talk at leisure after your glorious elevation. Thank you for coming, said Sun Wukong. I'm sorry you couldn't take some refreshments before leaving. Then he called his 4 stalwart generals and ordered them, give my sons and grandsons a thorough training. When I've had a look around in heaven, I'll take you all to live with me up there. The 4 stalwart generals accepted their orders, and the Monkey King made his cloud, carrying him up above the clouds. He was raised to a high-ranking heavenly office, listed among the courtiers in the clouds. Chapter 4. The Great White Planet left the depths of the cave with the handsome Monkey King, and they ascended together on their clouds. As Sun Wukong's somersault cloud was exceptionally fast, he reached the southern gate of heaven first, leaving the Great White Planet far behind. Just as he was putting away his cloud to go in, his way was barred by the heavenly guardian Tripitaka and his powerfully heaven soldiers Liu, Gao, Bai, Din, Xing, Zhang, and Tao, who blocked the gate of heaven with their spears and swords and refused to let him in. This old Great White Planet is a trickster, said Sun Wukong. He invited me here, so he has no business to have me kept out with spears and swords. Just as he was kicking up a row, the planet suddenly arrived. Sun Wukong flung his accusation at him. Why did you play this trick on me, you old fogey? You told me you came with an edict of amnesty from the Jade Emperor to invite me here, so why did you arrange for these people not to let me in through the gate of heaven? The Great White Planet laughed. Don't be angry, your majesty. You've never been here before. Your name is not on the books here, and the heavenly soldiers have never met you. Of course they could not let you in just for the asking. But when you've seen his celestial majesty and been given office among the immortals, you'll be able to come and go as you wish, and nobody will try to stop you." "Be that as it may," said Sun Wukong, "I'm not going in." The Great White Planet would not let him go, and asked him to go in with him in spite of it all. As they approached the gate, the planet shouted, "Heavenly officers of the gates of heaven, sergeants and soldiers, let us in. This is an immortal from the lower world, and I am carrying an edict from the Jade Emperor summoning him here." Only then did the heavenly king Sanzang and his soldiers withdraw their arms and stand back. Now the Monkey King began to trust the Great White Planet. He walked in slowly with him and looked at the view. Truly it was his first ascent to the upper world, sudden entry into paradise. 10,000 beams of golden light shone with reddish glow. 1,000 strands of propitious vapor puffed out purple mist. See the southern gate of heaven, deep green, crystalline, shimmering bright, studded with jewels. On either side stood scores of heavenly marshals, tall as the roof beams next to the pillars, holding metal-tipped bows and banners. All around stood gods in golden armor, brandishing their clubs and halberds, wielding their cutlasses and swords. The outside was remarkable enough, but the inside astonished him. Here were several mighty pillars, round which coiled tawny bearded dragons, their gold scales gleaming in the sun. There were long bridges, where strutted phoenixes, brilliant of plumage and with bright red crests. A rosy glow shone with heavenly light. Thick green mists obscured the pole star. In this heaven there are 33 heavenly palaces. The Palace of Clouds Dispersed, the Vaisrana Palace, the Palace of Five Lords, the Sun Palace, the Palace of Flowery Bliss. Every palace had golden animals on its roof. There are 72 precious halls. The Hall of Morning Audience, the Hall of Rising into Space, the Precious Light Hall, the Hall of Heavenly Kings, and the Hall of the Master of Miracles. Jade unicorns on every column. On the terrace of the Star of Longevity grew flowers that never wither. Beside the stove for decocting elixir were herbs that stay green forever. In front of the facing the Sage Pavilion, crimson gauze clothes glittered like stars. Lotus hats shone with gold and jade. Jade hairpins and pearl-sewn shoes, golden seals on purple cords. As the golden bell tolled, the 3 classes of divinities approached the steps and submitted memorials. As the heavenly drum was beaten, 10,000 sage kings attended the Jade Emperor. Then they entered a hall of miraculous mist, where jade doors were studded with gold, and phoenixes danced before the crimson gates. Winding arcades, everywhere carved in openwork, layer on layer of eaves, with dragons and phoenixes soaring. On top was the majestically purple, bright, perfectly round, and dazzling golden gourd-shaped finial. Below, fans hung from the hands of heavenly consorts, while jade maidens proffered magic clothes. Ferocious, the heavenly generals guarding the court. Majestic, the immortal officials protecting the throne. In the middle were set crystal dishes, filled to overflowing with great monad pills. Agate jars in which stood twisted coral trees. All the wonderful things in heaven were there, none of which are seen on earth. Golden gates, silver chariots, and a purple palace, precious plants, jade flowers, and jasper petals. The jade hairs of the princes at court ran past the altar. The golden rooks of the sages present flew down low. The Monkey King was fated to come to heaven rather than be sullied by the mortal world. The Great White Planet led the handsome Monkey King to the outside of the Hall of Miraculous Mist. He went straight into the imperial presence without waiting to be summoned, and did obeisance to the throne. Sun Wukong stood bolt upright beside him, not bothering with any court etiquette, but just concentrating on listening to the Great White Planet make his report to the Jade Emperor. In obedience to the divine edict, your subject has brought the demon immortal here. The Jade Emperor lowered his curtain and asked, "And which of you is the demon immortal?" "Me," replied Sun Wukong, only making a slight bow. The faces of officials went white with horror as they exclaimed, "What a savage monkey! He has the impudence to answer me, and without even prostrating himself first. He must die." In reply to this, the Jade Emperor announced, "Sun Wukong is a demon immortal of the lower world. He has only just obtained human form. so he is not acquainted with court procedure. We shall forgive him this time." "We thank you for your mercy," said the immortal ministers. Only then did Sun Wukong express his respect by bowing low and chanting "Na Wa Wa" at the top of his voice. The Jade Emperor ordered his immortal civil and military officials to find a vacancy in some department for Sun Wukong. The Star Lord Wugu stepped forward from the side and reported, "There are no vacancies in any of the palace's halls and departments of heaven except for superintendent of the imperial stables." "Then make him protector of the horses," ordered the Jade Emperor. All the ministers thanked him for his mercy, apart from Sun Wukong, who just expressed his respect with a loud "Na Wa." The Jade Emperor then told the Wood Planet to take him to the imperial stables. The Wood Planet accompanied the delighted Monkey King to his post and then went back to the palace. The Monkey King then called together the deputy and assistant superintendent, the bookkeeper, the grooms, and all other officials high and low to find out about the duties of his department. He found that he had to look after 1,000 heavenly horses, chestnuts and stallions, coursers and chargers, dragon and purple swallow, Pegasus and Sunshun, Juti and silver, Yang Miao and flying yellow, Tautu and feathers, red hair and faster than light, Dazzler and horizon, Mist Soarer and victory, Wind Chaser and matchless, Flying Wing and Galloping Mist, Lazy Whirlwind and Red Lightning, Bronze Cup and Drifting Cloud, Skewbald and Tiger Stripe, Dust Free and Purple Scales, the 4 Fergani steeds, the 8 chargers and 9 gallopers, coursers that can cover 300 miles, and all these fine horses, neighing in the wind, chasing the lightning, mighty in spirit, pawing the mist, climbing the clouds, great in their strength. The Monkey King looked through the register and counted the horses. In the stables, the bookkeeper was responsible for ordering the fodder, the head groom was in charge of currying the horses, chopping up and cooking the fodder, and giving them water. The deputy superintendent and his assistant helped to oversee the work. The protector of the horses looked after his charges, sleeping neither by day or night. It is true that he fooled around all day, but at night he looked after the animals with great diligence, waking them up and making them eat whenever they fell asleep, and leading those still on their feet to the trough. At the sight of him, the heavenly horses would prick up their ears and paw the ground, and they became fat and plump. Thus more than half a month slipped by. One morning that was a holiday, all the officials of the stables held a feast both to welcome and congratulate the protector of the horses. In the middle of the party, the Monkey King suddenly put down his cup and asked, "What sort of office is this protector of the horses?" "What the name suggests, that's all." "Which official grading does it carry?" "Unclassified." "What does unclassified mean?" "Bottom grade," the others replied, going on to explain. "It's a very low and unimportant office, and all you can do in it is look after the horses. Even someone who works as conscientiously as your honor and gets the horses so fat, he will get no more reward than someone saying good. And if anything goes at all wrong, you will be held responsible, and if the losses are serious, you'll be fined and punished." The Monkey King flared up on hearing this, gnashed his teeth, and said in a great rage, "How dare they treat me with such contempt? On the mountain of flowers and fruit, I am a king and a patriarch. How dare he trick me into coming here to feed his horses for him? It's a low job for the youngsters, not for me. I won't do it. I won't. I'm going back." He pushed the table over with a crash, took his treasure out of his ear and shook it. It became as thick as a rice bowl, and he brandished it as he charged out of the imperial stables to the southern gate of heaven. As the celestial guards knew that his name was on the register of immortal officials, they did not dare to block his path, but let him go out through the gate. He descended by cloud and was back on the mountain of flowers and fruit in an instant. Seeing the 4 stalwart generals and all the kings of the monsters drilling their troops there, he shouted in a shrill voice, "Children, I'm back." The monkeys all bowed to him, took him into the heart of the cave, and asked him to sit on his throne, while they prepared a banquet to welcome him back. "Congratulations, your majesty," they all said. "After a dozen years up there, you must be coming back in glory and triumph." What do you mean over a dozen years? Asked the Monkey King. I've only been away for a fortnight or so. Your Majesty can't have noticed the time passing in heaven. A day in heaven lasts as long as a year on earth. May we ask what office you held? It hurts me to tell you, replied the Monkey King with a wave of his hand. I feel thoroughly humiliated. That Jade Emperor doesn't know how to use a good man, a man like me. Protector of horses? That man I had to feed his animals for him, and wasn't even given an official grading. I didn't know this at first, so I fooled around in the imperial stables until today, when I found out from my colleagues how low the job was. I was so angry that I pushed the table over and quit the job. That's why I've come back. Quite right too, the other monkey said. Your Majesty can be king in our cave paradise and enjoy as much honor and pleasure as you like, so why go and be his groom? Then they gave orders for wine to be brought at once to cheer their king up. As they were drinking, someone came in to report, Your Majesty, there are 2 single-horned devil kings outside who want to see you. Ask them in, said the Monkey King, and the 2 formally dressed devil kings hurried into the cave and prostrated themselves. Why have you come to see me? Asked the handsome Monkey King, and they replied, We have long heard that your Majesty is looking for men of talent, but we were unable to see you before. Now that your Majesty has been given heavenly office and come back in triumph, we would like to offer you this yellow robe as a token of our congratulations. We also hope that you will not reject us, although we are low and worthless, but will accept our humble services. An exultant Monkey King put on the yellow robe, and his happy subjects bowed to him in order of precedence. The 2 devil kings were appointed commanders of the van, and when they had thanked the Monkey King for this, they asked, What office did your Majesty hold while you were all that time in heaven? The Jade Emperor has no respect for talent, replied the Monkey King. He made me something called Protector of the Horses. The Jade Emperor has no respect for talent, replied the Monkey King. He made me something called Protector of the Horses. Your Majesty has such miraculous powers, you should never have been feeding his horses for him. You should have been made a great sage equaling heaven, shouldn't you? The Monkey King was beside himself with delight at this suggestion, and he kept saying how splendid it was. Get me a banner made at once with the words, Great Sage Equaling Heaven, in big letters on it, and put up a pole to hang it from, he ordered his 4 stalwart generals. From now on, I am to be called Great Sage Equaling Heaven, not your Majesty or King. Pass this order on to all the other kings of the monsters. We will leave him at this point. When the Jade Emperor held his morning court the next day, the heavenly teacher Zhang led the deputy and assistant superintendents of the imperial stables to the vermilion steps, bowed low, and reported, Your Majesty, Sun Wukong, the new protector of the horses, left heaven yesterday because he thought his office was too humble. Just as he was speaking, the heavenly guardian Tripitaka came from the southern gate of heaven with his heavenly soldiers and reported, The protector of the horses has gone out through the gate, we do not know why. On hearing this, the Jade Emperor commanded, Let the 2 divine officials return to their posts. We shall send heavenly soldiers to capture this devil. The pagoda-bearing heavenly king Li Jing and Prince Neza stepped forward from the ranks of those attending the audience, and they memorialized, Your Imperial Majesty, we beg you to command us, your incompetent servants, to subdue this fiend. The Emperor was delighted with this suggestion, and he appointed the pagoda-bearing heavenly king as demon-quelling high marshal and Prince Neza as the great god of the seas. He told them to take their forces down to the lower world at once. Heavenly King Li and Neza kowtowed, took their leave, went straight back to their own palace, and assembled their troops, commanders, and officers. They put the mighty miracle god in charge of the vanguard and General Fishbelly in command of the rear, while General Yaksha was made adjutant. Within an instant they were outside the southern gate of heaven, and they went straight to the mountain of flowers and fruit. They chose a piece of level and open ground in which to construct a fortified camp, and ordered the mighty miracle god to issue the challenge to battle. On receiving this order, the mighty miracle god tied on his armor firmly and went to the water curtain cave, holding his flower-spreading battle axe. When he got there, he saw huge numbers of devils, wolves, tigers, and leopards, wielding spears, brandishing swords, leaping around, fighting each other, and making a great noise outside the little entrance to the cave. "Accursed beast," shouted the mighty miracle god, "tell the protector of horses at once that I am a heavenly general come on the orders of the Jade Emperor to subdue him. If you make him come out and surrender immediately, it will save the lot of you from being wiped out." The devils went rushing into the cave and reported, "Disaster! Disaster!" "What disaster?" the Monkey King asked. "There's a heavenly general outside who says he's come on the orders of the Jade Emperor to subdue you. If you go out and surrender immediately, he says he'll spare our lives." "Fetch me my armor," said the Monkey King. He then donned his golden helmet, tied on his golden armor, put on his cloud-walking shoes, and took his as-you-will gold-banded cudgel in hand. He led his troops out of the cave and drew them up in battle array. The mighty miracle god gazed wide-eyed at the excellent Monkey King. On his body was gleaming gold armor, on his head a dazzling golden helmet, in his hand a gold-banded club, on his feet a pair of cloud-walking shoes to match. His devil eyes shone like stars, his ears were long and hard, his sturdy frame could be transformed at will, his voice rang clearly as a bell. The sharp-mouthed horse protector with protruding teeth wanted to become a sage equaling heaven. The mighty miracle god shouted in a harsh voice, "Insolent ape, don't you recognize me?" The great sage Sun Wukong replied at once, "I've never met you before. How should I know which wretched little deity you are? Tell me your name at once." "I'll get you, you conceited baboon. So you don't know who I am? I am the heavenly general, mighty miracle, the commander of the vanguard for Heavenly King Lai, the pagoda bearer. I have come here on the orders of the Jade Emperor to accept your surrender. Take off your armor at once and submit to the mercy of heaven, or I'll wipe out every animal on the mountain, and if you so much as hint at a refusal, I'll smash you to powder." "Stop talking so big, you lousy god," retorted the furious Monkey King, "and give that long tongue of yours a rest. I'd just love to kill you with this cudgel of mine, but if I did, there'd be no one to deliver my message for me, so I'll spare your life. Hurry back to heaven and tell that Jade Emperor that he doesn't know how to use a good man. Why did he make me waste my infinite powers on feeding his horses for him? Take a look what's written on my standard. If he's willing to give me this title officially, I'll call off my troops and let heaven and earth continue in peace. But if he refuses, I'm coming up to the Hall of Miracle Mist to knock him off his dragon throne." When the mighty miracle god heard this, he looked hard and saw that a tall pole had been planted outside the entrance to the cave, on which hung a banner reading, "Great Sage equaling Heaven." "Ha ha ha," he mocked. "You ignorant ape, what shameless effrontery to want to be a great sage equaling heaven. Take that." He swung with his battle axe at the Monkey King, who, quite unflustered, parried with his gold-banded cudgel. It was a fine battle. The cudgel was called As You Will, the axe was named Flower Spreader. As soon as the two met, you could not tell which was better, axe and club locked together. One was concealing his magic powers, one was a big-mouthed boaster. They used their magic to breathe out cloud and mist. When they opened their hands, they scattered sand and dust. The heavenly general was a master of magic. Endless were the changes the Monkey King could make. When the cudgel was raised, it was like a dragon playing in the water. As the axe came down, it was a phoenix among the flowers. Although the fame of Miracle was known throughout the world, his skill was no match for his enemy. If the great sage lightly twirled his club, a mere touch would paralyze. The mighty miracle god was no match for his opponent. He hastens to block the Monkey King's first blow with his axe, which broke in two with a crunch. He fled for his life as fast as he could, and the Monkey King said mockingly, "You bag of pus, I'll spare you this time. Hurry back with my message and look sharp about it." The mighty miracle god returned to his camp, went straight to the pagoda-bearing heavenly King Li Jing, knelt before him, and said with an awkward laugh, "The protector of the horses has really tremendous magic powers. I was no match for him. He beat me, and now I have come to take my punishment." "This fool has ruined our morale," exploded the heavenly King Li in a fury. "Take him away and off with his head." Prince Neza, who was standing to one side, stepped forward, bowed, and said, "Don't be angry, your majesty. Forgive the mighty miracle god, and let me go and do battle. Then we'll see who's boss." The heavenly king accepted his advice and told mighty miracle god to go back and look after the camp while he awaited his punishment. When he had put on his armor and helmet, Prince Nezra charged straight out of the camp to the water curtain cave. Sun Wukong, who was just going to pull back his troops, saw the ferocity of his onslaught. What a fine prince he was! His hair in tufts barely covers his scalp, his cloak not over his shoulders. How striking his intelligence! How elegant his air! Indeed, he is the scion of a unicorn in heaven. In truth, he is a phoenix immortal from the clouds. The seeds of dragon is different from the common herd. This fine youth is not at all like mortals. With him he carries 6 divine weapons. Endless his transformations as he soars through the air. Now he has received an edict from the Jade Emperor's mouth, making him commander of the 3 temples of the masses. Sun Wukong went up to him and asked, "Whose little boy are you then? What do you mean charging up to my door?" "Stinking monkey fiend," shouted Prince Nezza. "Don't you know who I am? I am Nezza, the 3rd son of the pagoda-bearing heavenly king, and I have been commanded by the Jade Emperor to come here and arrest you." "You do talk big, don't you, little prince?" said Sun Wukong, laughing at him. "But as you've still got all your milk teeth and are still wet behind the ears, I'll spare your life, and I won't hit you. Do you see what it says on my standard? Go and tell the Jade Emperor that if he gives me that title, I'll call off my armies and submit to him once more. But if he doesn't do what I want him to, I'll surely attack the Hall of Miraculous Mist." Nezra looked up and saw the words, "Great Sage equaling heaven." "You wicked monkey, how dare you give yourself a title like that, whatever your magic powers may be? Don't worry, all you're getting is my sword." "Give me a few swipes then," replied Sun Wukong. "I won't move." "Change!" yelled Nezza in passion, and at once he had 3 heads and 6 arms, which made him look most ferocious. In his hands he held 6 weapons: a demon-beheading sword, a demon-hacking cutlass, a demon-binding rope, a demon-quelling pestle, an embroidered ball, and a fire-wheel, and wielding all these he rushed straight at Sun Wukong. At the sight of him, Sun Wukong exclaimed with astonishment, "Well, my boy, you certainly know a trick or two, but just behave yourself and watch what I can do." Our dear great sage shouted, "Change!" and he too had 3 heads and 6 arms. He shook his gold-banded cudgel, and it turned into 3 cudgels, which he gripped with his 6 hands to ward off Nezra's blows. It was a great fight, and it made the earth shake and the mountains tremble. 6-armed Prince Nezza, heavenly born Monkey King, well-matched opponents, both in the same class. One sent down to the lower world on a mission, the other priding himself as a fighting bull. Fast moves the point of the demon-beheading sword, and evil spirits fear the demon-hacking cutlass. The demon-binding rope flies like a dragon, while the demon-quelling pestle has the head of a wolf. The fire-wheel flashes with lightning, and the embroidered ball shoots everywhere. The great sage 3 as-you-will cudgels block and parry with consummate skill. Though many hard-fought rounds prove inconclusive, the prince refuses to call the battle off. Making his 6 weapons multiply in number, he throws them in their millions at the Monkey King's head. But the Monkey King, fearless, roars with laughter as his iron clubs whirl and think for themselves. 1 becomes 1,000, 1,000, 10. Their wild dance fills the sky as if with dragons. All the demon kings shut their gates in terror. Every goblin on the mountain finds some place to hide. Cloud black, the anger of the heavenly troops, whistling like the wind, the gold-banded cudgels. On one side, the blood-curdling war cries of the heavenly host. On the other, the spine-chilling banners of the monkey fiends. Both parties are equal in fighting courage. Neither could be said to be the winner. Prince Nezra and Sun Wukong both used their divine powers to the full as they fought 30 rounds. When the 6 weapons of the prince turned into thousands and tens of thousands, so did Sun Wukong's gold-banded cudgel. The air was filled as with drops of rain or shooting stars, and there was no way of telling who was winning. As Sun Wukong was deft of hand and quick of eye, he plucked one of his hairs from his body in the midst of the fray and shouted, "Change!" It changed into his own double to mislead Nezra, while his real self leapt around till he was behind Nezra and struck him at the left shoulder. Nezra was in the middle of performing a spell when he heard the whistle of the cudgel through the air and twisted away as fast as he could, but he was unable to avoid the blow and had to flee wounded. He brought his magic to an end, put his 6 weapons away, reverted to his true appearance, and abandoned the field of battle in defeat. This had all been observed by Heavenly King Li, who was on the point of sending reinforcements when his son appeared before him and reported in fear and trembling, "Father, the protector of horses is very powerful. My magic was outclassed, and he has wounded me in the shoulder." The color drained from the face of the horror-struck Heavenly King as he said, "If the creature has magic powers like that, how are we going to defeat him?" "Outside the gates of the cave," the prince went on to report, "there is a banner on a pole that reads, 'Great Sage Equaling Heaven.' He bragged that if the Jade Emperor gave him this title, he would call everything off. Otherwise, he said he would attack the Hall of Miraculous Mist." "In that case," said the Heavenly King, "we'll disengage now, go back to heaven, and request that more heavenly troops be sent to capture this wretch. There is plenty of time." The prince, in pain and unable to go on fighting, went back to heaven with the Heavenly King and put in this request, but of that no more for the moment. Watch as the Monkey King returns to the mountain in triumph to receive the congratulations of the 72 kings of the monsters and his 6 sworn brothers. There was great drinking and singing in the cave paradise. Son Wukong said to his 6 sworn brothers, "As I've called myself Great Sage Equaling Heaven, you can all call yourselves Great Sages too." "Honorable brother, you're right," roared the Bull Demon King. "I shall call myself the Great Sage Matching Heaven." "I'll be the Great Sage Overturning the Sea," said the Salamander Demon King. "I'll be the Great Sage Throwing Heaven into Confusion," said the Rock Demon King. "I'll be the Great Sage Who Moves Mountains," said the Camel Demon King. "I'll be the Great Sage Who Travels with the Winds," said the Macaque King. "And I'll be the Great Sage Who Drives Away Gods," said the Lion King. The 7 great sages then did just as they pleased and gave themselves the titles they chose, and after enjoying themselves all day they went home. Heavenly King Li and Prince Nezra led their forces straight to the Palace of Miraculous Mist and made this request: "We, your subjects, took our forces down to the lower world under your divine edict to subdue the immortal fiend Sun Wukong. But to our surprise, we found that his magical powers were too far-reaching for us to be able to defeat him. We therefore hope that your Imperial Majesty will send more troops to exterminate him." "How could a mere monkey goblin have such great powers that you actually need more troops?" asked the Jade Emperor. Prince Nezra then came forward and memorialized, "We beg your Majesty to spare us the deaths we deserve. That monkey fiend has an iron cudgel that he used to defeat the mighty miracle god and wounded me on the shoulder. He has set up a banner outside the entrance to his cave that reads, 'Great Sage Equaling Heaven,' and he says that if you give him this office he will stop fighting and submit, otherwise he will attack the Hall of Miraculous Mist." When the Jade Emperor heard this, he asked in horror, "How dare that monkey fiend talk so wildly? Send all the generals to execute him at once." As he spoke, the Great White Planet stepped forward from the ranks of officials. "That monkey fiend knows how to talk," he suggested, "but he has no idea about real power. If more soldiers were sent to fight him, they might not be able to overcome him at once, and their energies would be wasted. But if your Imperial Majesty were to show your great mercy, you could send down a pacificatory amnesty and let him be a Great Sage Equaling Heaven. It would only be an empty title that he was given, just an honorary appointment." "What do you mean by an honorary appointment?" asked the Jade Emperor. "He would be called a Great Sage Equaling Heaven, but he would not be given any responsibility or paid any salary. He would be kept between heaven and earth, where his evil nature would be under control, and he would be kept from wickedness. Thus, heaven and earth can be at peace, while sea and sky enjoy tranquility." The Jade Emperor approved this suggestion and ordered that a new edict should be issued for the Great White Planet to deliver. The Great White Planet left once more through the southern gate of heaven and went straight to have a look at the water curtain cave on the mountain of flowers and fruit. It was quite different from before. There was an awe-inspiring and spine-chilling atmosphere, and every kind of fiend was present. They were roaring roaring and leaping around with their swords, spears, cutlasses, and staves. As soon as they saw the great white planet, they all went for him. "Will your commander please come forward?" said the planet. "I would trouble you to inform your great sage that I am a heavenly envoy sent by the Jade Emperor, and I'm carrying a divine edict with an invitation for him." The fiends rushed in to report, "There's an old man outside who says he's from heaven with an edict of invitation for you." When Sun Wukong heard this, he said, "I'm glad he's come. I expect he's that great white planet who came before. Although I wasn't given a decent job last time I went to heaven, I did get up there and learn my way around. If it's him again, his intentions must be good." He told his commanders to put on a big display of banners and drums, and to turn out a guard of honor to welcome him. Then the great sage, wearing his helmet, his yellow robe over his armor, and his cloud-walking shoes, hurried out of the cave at the head of his monkey host, bowed in greeting, and shouted in a loud voice, "Please come in, venerable planet. Forgive me for not being here to welcome you." The planet walked straight into the cave facing the south and said, "Great sage, when you left the imperial stables because you found the post too humble, officials of that department naturally reported the matter to the Jade Emperor. The Jade Emperor decreed that all officials have to work their way up from the bottom, and asked why you objected to it being humble. After this, Heavenly King Lu took Nezra down to the lower world to do battle with you. Your divine powers, great sage, were more than they expected, and they suffered defeat. On their return to heaven, they reported that you had set up a banner and wanted to be a great sage equaling heaven. All the generals wanted to punish you, but I, great sage, ran the risk of punishment by suggesting that the army should not be called out, and that your majesty should be given a post instead. The Jade Emperor approved my memorial, and that is why I have come here to invite you." "I am most grateful for this honor after the trouble I caused you earlier," replied Sun Wukong, "but I am not sure whether there is such a title as Great Sage Equaling Heaven in the upper world." "After obtaining imperial approval for this title," said the planet, "I came down bearing a decree. If anything goes wrong, I'll bear the responsibility." A highly delighted Sun Wukong tried his hardest to persuade the planet to stay to a banquet, but without success. So he went with him by propitious cloud to the southern gate of heaven. The heavenly generals and soldiers all greeted them with respectfully folded arms, and they went straight to the hall of miraculous mist. The great white planet did obeisance and said, "In obedience to the imperial edict, your subject has summoned Sun Wukong, the protector of horses, and he is present." "Let Sun Wukong come forward," said the Jade Emperor. "We do now proclaim you great sage equaling heaven. Your rank is now very high. Let there be no more mischief from you." The Monkey King simply chanted "Na-ah-wah" to express his thanks to the Emperor. The Jade Emperor then ordered the two officials in charge of public works, Zhang and Lu, to build a residence for the great sage equaling heaven to the left of the peach orchard. In the residence there were to be two offices, Tranquility Office and a Calm Divinity Office. Both of these offices were to have immortal clerks and senior and junior assistants. He then told the Star Lords of the Constellation 5 to escort Sun Wukong to his post, and in addition gave him 2 bottles of imperial wine and 10 golden flowers, and admonished him to settle down and keep out of mischief. The Monkey King accepted the order, and went that same day with the Star Lords of the Constellation 5 to his residence, where he opened the bottles of wine and drained them dry with the help of all present. He then saw the star officials off and returned to his own palace. From then on he lived in happiness and content, and enjoyed untrammeled pleasure in the palace. Truly, his immortal name was forever inscribed in the register of eternal life, to be transmitted for 10,000 ages, free of the wheel of rebirth. If you don't know what happened next, listen to the explanation in the next installment.